The Universal Survival Arc was the largest and longest arc in Dragon Ball Super, and today I want to do a two-part video here, a two sides of a different coin video. On here, we're going to talk about the 10 things that we liked about the Universal Survival Arc. Myself and Laughingstock Media have our choices. And then over on his channel, when you get done with this video, check out the 10 things we did not like about the Universal Survival Arc, the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super. The discussion begins next. What's going on, everyone? If you like the videos I'm putting out on this channel, remember to hit that like button. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you get all my content right to your device every time I upload. And I thank you for your continued support. So here's how it's going to work. We have a list of 10 things that we liked about this arc, and it's not in any particular order, just 10 things that we really liked. And like I said in the intro, the second half, which is the 10 things we did not like, is over on Laughingstock Media's channel. So we're going to take turns alternating, giving you guys his 5 and my 5 of the 10 things that we liked most about the Universal Survival Arc. So hello, Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going?
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughingstock Media and Cinema. How's it going?
That's right, Mike has a second channel now about movies. Check it out. So, we're not talking movies here, we're talking Dragon Ball Super. What is your first thing that you liked about the Universal Survival Arc?
Okay, so the first thing that I liked about the Universal Survival Arc is, in fact, one of the first things that we saw during this arc, and that is the Zen exhibition match. Now, the Zen exhibition match, for me, is one of the highlights of the arc because it allowed us to not only see a new universe in Universe 9 for the first time, but it also allowed our fighters from Universe 7, such as Gohan, Majin Buu, and Goku, to face off against their strongest warriors and kind of give us like a sampling of what would be to come in the arc itself, in the Tournament of Power, as it would be. So that's something I really liked about this arc.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun fights there and a good setup. We introduced Topo there, the Trio of Dangers. It was the teaser for Jiren. Good stuff. Yeah. My first one I want to talk about is the animation. Now, obviously, Super's been very inconsistent, but when it comes to this arc, the Tournament of Power Universal Survival Arc, it definitely improved. We saw a lot of big names coming back to Dragon Ball Super and giving us some of the best action we've seen in quite some time. And I think that for the most part, the episodes that mattered, like 109, 110, 130, and 131, looked phenomenal. In fact, episode 130 may have had the best animation cut we have ever seen in all of Dragon Ball. So you got to put it over as being an important aspect. What is your next one?
Okay, so my next one is going to be the overall concept of that are introduced actually in this arc. So first off, the concept of the Tournament of Power, in which all these different universes from around this multiverse are gathering together with 10 of their fighters to fight for their very survival, you know, because if they are to lose, if their team is eliminated, they would be erased from existence. So I think that's a really cool kind of cosmic, you know, high fantasy science fiction sort of concept that I've always liked in comic books and now like in Dragon Ball Super. But then there's also other things such as the concept of Ultra Instinct, which itself I feel like is a very interesting concept because of how cool it is that it's something that really could be beyond strength, you know, dodging and attacking without even so much as thinking. You know, that's just, it really introduced a lot of cool concepts in this arc.
Right, and the World of Void is a cool idea too, I think. My next one is kind of, it goes along with the one you just said. I liked the new characters for the most part. I love the Pride Troopers and the concept behind them. And I liked, even though some folks don't like them, I was a fan of Rib Brienne's group. Mm-hmm. I thought they were kind of cheesy, but a lot of real good, you know, magical girl parody stuff in there. I enjoyed a lot of the new designs that Toriyama gave us, not just with the new Gods of Destruction and the new Angels, but also I loved the robots from Universe 4. Was it Universe 4 or Universe 3? It was
Universe 3, I
Universe
believe.
3. Yeah, I loved, like, Majikayo was awesome. I loved the way that they looked, the way they fused together. I loved some of the unique and strange designs of some of the other universes as well. I just liked Toriyama really having some fun creating some new characters. And even though his designs here were not quite as good as his old Dragon Quest stuff and maybe the old Dragon Ball stuff. There was a lot of great new characters that I really enjoyed seeing here. Dr. Rota, of course, being one that I wish we saw a lot more
I wish
of.
we heard a lot more about a description of his power, too, but that's just neither here nor there. But for mine,
Right.
getting into another character who is an older character who came back into the foray in this arc is Android 17. Someone who I don't think either of us, or really anyone in the fandom, realized just how powerful Android 17 had become and how big of a tool that
He's the MVP.
yeah, definitely he is the MVP of this arc, and I feel like there's very little question about that. The guy did end up winning in the end. So Android 17, just how he's developed, how he's been utilized has been really awesome.
Yeah, they completely brought him back out of nowhere and made him a top player. Top player. It was like a Bobby Lashley push. Except 17 has charisma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
He can cut a promo.
now, speaking of finalists and guys who came back, my next pick is Frieza, all right? I loved Frieza in this arc. I know a lot of folks weren't happy he was coming back again, but his interactions with Goku all throughout this thing was awesome. When they first met up at Baba's place and he elbowed him and whatnot, and then had little fight they had where they knocked each other out before the tournament, and then the thing that Frieza, how he manipulated Frost, and I love how he kept coming back in the fight, and at the end, him and Goku teaming up against Jiren. So many great Frieza moments, and we'll talk more about this later, but I feel like we haven't seen the end of Frieza at all because at the end of the arc, he did get wished back, and he is alive out there somewhere. So we have not seen the end of Frieza. I don't think he's going to be a villain or anything like that, not a main villain, but his return, I think, really gave us some great moments, if you ask me. Even though the Majin Buu I guess removal was not good, which we'll talk about in the other video on your channel. It's over there. I think Frieza did great in this arc and was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really like, especially in Dragon Ball Super, he's really like the Joker or like the Lex Luthor or that really manipulative, just master villain behind this franchise that is Dragon Ball. But getting into someone else who had some more development in this tournament, and someone I was surprised by their development, is actually Zeno. And if you recall, toward the end of the final episode of Dragon Ball Super in 131, we heard about how Zeno actually had foreseen the wish that Android 17 had made for the universes to be brought back. And it seemed like he actually had some sort of greater plan involving Goku, perhaps like exposing Goku to these other universes, so that whatever this goodness and this thing that has led Goku's friends all together could rub off on them and possibly benefit like everyone in general. So I feel like the fact that Zeno, instead of just being this naive child that he appeared to be the entire time, actually having some sort of greater plan is something that added more to his character and made him more interesting and dynamic.
Yeah, he just wanted them to do good.
Yeah.
Is pretty much what he wanted. And there were some evil people in this arc, but
oh yeah.
Speaking of development, next one's got to be Vegeta. That's my next one. Vegeta was amazing from start to finish in this entire arc. Probably my favorite character in this arc. He starts out, with his wife being pregnant. We saw some comedy there, and that was awesome. And then when the tournament began, we saw Vegeta really getting a lot of eliminations early. He was racking them up. There were so many great moments here, including when he tries to tap into Ultra Instinct, ends up getting beat up over it. Loved that. I loved when he evolved beyond Blue, and I loved the whole thing with, even though I wasn't a fan of how he eliminated Topo, the fact that he fought him like that, and then the fact that Vegeta got thrown out and gave Goku his last bit of energy, and then had these awesome speeches all throughout, about the Saiyans, about Kakarot, just great stuff with Vegeta. And I really thought Super as a whole, I think, has done a great work of making Vegeta even more likable throughout the entire run. No matter what you think about Super, Vegeta's awesome in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I've really liked about Super as a series thus far, that, compared to another series that had come out before this in Dragon Ball GT, they didn't really use Vegeta and some of these other characters as much as Super really does. So I feel like that's definitely a positive for this arc and for Super. But for me, it's an ending, and that is the kind of semi-cliffhanger ending that we were left with for the end of this arc, the Universe Survival arc. And I, honestly, when it comes to, like, the concepts, when it comes to the greater ideas and themes that were conveyed, I really did like the ending of this arc. And I feel like, even though maybe some of what happened throughout the arc was not as consequential as we would have liked, and we will talk about that again on this other list, the fact of the matter is that it left a lot of new possibilities open, new characters to be able to return in the future of Dragon Ball, and really be able to do more, than it started out as. So I feel like if there's one thing to take away from this, it's really that the Tournament of Power left us with a greater expanded lore than what we had before.
Yep, and many of those questions may or may not be resolved with the movie, but it definitely seems that the show, or at least the franchise, will continue. So my last one is one where I think a lot of people are going to... This is why they watch Dragon Ball. Great fights and great action. Dragon Ball Super did not really give us that many great fights prior to this. There was a few, mostly in the Trunks arc. But this arc gave us tons of great action. And no matter what you can say, no matter how you slice it, the majority of this arc, especially the tournament side, was not boring. There was maybe 2 episodes that were boring out of, 60 or whatever. I forgot how many there were. But a lot of it was not boring at all. There was some great fights. Goku versus Jiren, both in 109 and 110 and in 130, were fantastic. Goku and Kefla was a lot of fun, I think. There was just a lot of good stuff in this arc, action-wise, and it did not bore. And that, to me, is I think, needs to be talked about. So that's my last one. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I really wanted to see in an arc that's really all about big fights in one gigantic fight that's happening throughout. And so I really wanted to see some big fights, and they really had Goku basically go around and put on, like, barn burners with all these people, walking up to, like, the AJ Styles and the Shinsuke Nakamura's and everyone of the Tournament of Power and be like, okay, let's have these crazy 5-star or, 6-star matches. But
right.
So I really did like a lot of the fights that were had in this arc.
It was definitely the best action in Super. I don't know if it compares to the classic Dragon Ball Z fights or Dragon Ball. I really don't know if I want to say that, but visually they were very stunning, especially the Goku Jiren stuff, and it was, as far as Super goes, the best of Super when it comes to combat. So what is your list? Let us know down below. What are 10 things that you liked about the Universal Survival arc? And don't forget to head over to Laughingstock Media so you can hear the 10 things that we did not like about the arc. Because there's good and bad. But overall, I had fun watching it. So thanks for being here.
All right, thanks for having me. And as I always say, guys, stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.